Now, today, we are gonna see. What if Naruto was op hunter and married Raven? Please subscribe this channel, because definitely I will try my best to provide a valuable content for you all. Also check the description to support the original author for this beautiful creation. Together, Naruto Uzumaki and his team charged forward like the wind, straining forward to the max. In front of them were their targets. Two masked ninjas hopping from tree to tree with remarkable speed. Those two were on a mission, and the last thing Naruto and his team could afford to do was to fail this mission and condemn the whole of Konoha and the entire ninja world to an unspeakable terror. With Naruto were another 7 ninjas: Sakura, Kakashi, Shikamaru, Sai, Neji and Hinata, Kiba and his dog Akamaru. All of them were gasping and panting with exertion as they tried to keep up the pace. They had been hoping to be able to stop their opponents from moving so far, but at the rate things were going, all they could do was keep up. "They're getting further away," Neji shouted. "Damn!" Naruto hissed through his teeth angrily and took an extra huge leap onto the next branch. "Hurry! We can't lose them." "We're not letting them get away," Kiba snapped. "No matter how far they go, we'll get them." The two masked ninjas made a sharp movement at that moment, angling away and upwards with such speed that even Neji and Hinata could barely keep up with their movements. They heard the ninjas call out something, no doubt preparing for some jutsu, and then Neji suddenly yelled out, "It's Sasuke." Naruto gasped aloud and stopped so suddenly that he nearly fell forward from the momentum. "What?" he spluttered, his heart lurching in his chest. Where is he?" "With those ninjas." Neji was peering forward with his Byakugan, eyes focused. "And he's fighting one of those ninjas." "What about the other ninja?" Kakashi demanded, signaling to the team to advance. "He's performing some kind of teleporting jutsu, I think. I can see him opening some sort of portal door. His partner is struggling with Sasuke. Neither of them have the upper hand yet." "Sasuke." Naruto was ignoring the art of subtlety and charging forward like an angry bull. "Sasuke." Kakashi muttered something under his breath and hurried after Naruto, who was almost out of sight now. More determined than ever to stop their enemies, the rest of the team picked up the pace and sped forward. The portal door was wide open now and waiting. One of the ninjas was concentrating on holding the door open, while his comrade wrestled furiously with Sasuke, cursing and shouting. "Sasuke." Heedless of his own safety, Naruto launched himself forward, making a wild dash for Sasuke's opponent. Sakura rushed to his aid at once, while the others went for the remaining ninja. And that was when all hell broke loose. The portal door enlarged visibly, swirled around, and Hinata felt something sucking her towards it. Alarmed, she tried to distance herself, but a much greater force was at work, dragging all the ninjas towards the door. "Kakashi-sensei." The chaos that followed was unbelievable. Amidst curses and wrangling and fighting, all the ninjas found themselves being pulled towards the portal door at top speed, none of them able to resist it. The door grew even larger, if that was possible, and Naruto had the sensation of them all being engulfed alive. Grappling for Sasuke and Sakura, who were the closest to him, he tried to maneuver himself backwards, but in vain. "Sensei. Can't, ah!" Hinata was screaming aloud as she found herself flying backwards into the portal door, shrinking as she got further and further. "Hinata, I'm coming." Kiba's yell was cut short as he and Akamaru joined Hinata, flying away from their comrades. The portal door expanded once more, and this time, every single ninja found themselves sucked into it, entering an unknown world. Then, ever so slowly, the door closed up on itself, leaving behind nothing but the silence of the forest. "So, what do you think? Please be nice, since this is only my second crossover." "Sasuke. Can this day get any more boring?" Beast Boy complained. "Say that one more time, and I'll show you something really interesting," Raven threatened, her expression darkening. Thanks." Beast Boy giggled nervously and wisely made the decision to seal his mouth. Robin's sudden exclamation startled the Titans into action, making them all jump towards the screen he was surveying. "Look at this!" he exclaimed. Double trouble. In two different spots. There's a major bank robbery here, and here. There's unidentified trouble. Oh, perfect. Cyborg threw his arms up into the air, rolling his eyes. That can only mean one thing. Splitting up, Terra agreed. Brilliant, Beast Boy grumbled. Well, who's going where, then? Me and Nightwalker will head to the bank, Raven said at once. Nightwalker's the one who can deal with guns best. The rest of you can take down the other bad guy, I'm sure. Sounds good to me, Robin said. All right, then. Cyborg, Terra, Starfire, Terra, we're heading to Dunnock Street. Titans, go. They split up into two groups and took off at top speed, Cyborg's group piling into his T-car. Raven and Nightwalker were already nowhere to be seen, having taken off in the opposite direction. Do you know anything about the unidentified problem? Starfire asked Robin. No, that's why it's classified as unidentified, Robin replied efficiently. But I have reason to believe it's gonna be a pretty powerful opponent. Hey, I'm sure the five of us can take him down, whoever he is, Cyborg said confidently. And Raven and Nightwalker can easily join us once they've taken care of business in the bank. No one can beat Nightwalker when it comes to dealing with guns. They were almost there now. Cyborg jammed his foot down harder on the accelerator, and within seconds, they spotted the trouble. Several cops surrounded a lone figure in the center, a handsome, slender teen boy with dark hair, and the oddest garments the Titans had ever seen. His right hand clutched a long, deadly-looking sword that could probably slice even water. Odd-looking fellow, Cyborg remarked, jerking his car to an abrupt halt and parking it where it was. Since when did any of our opponents look normal, anyway? Beast Boy returned. None. Precisely, Beast Boy grinned. Okay, can we cut that out and focus on what we have to? Robin grumbled. Starfire edged closer to their opponent and formed starbolts in her hands, positioned to strike. He seemed to be making no move yet, and Robin took heart from that. Glancing at Starfire, he nodded, and Starfire drew back her arms to gain momentum, hurling her starbolts at the boy with all her might. Titans, go! Robin bellowed. The cops backed up to give space to the Titans, whom they knew well enough to be able to trust. Starfire halted her starbolt barrage for a while at Robin's signal, and the Titans carefully eyed their opponent. He's still standing. Cold red eyes turned towards the Titans, narrowed with anger. Beast Boy shivered to see the chilling expression in his red eyes, so cold, so filled with hatred. Dude! Beast Boy exclaimed, without thinking. Why on earth does he have red eyes? With those little comma things? Do not insult the Sharingan, came the reply, in a foreign language. What did he say? Robin asked. It's Japanese, Starfire replied, having absorbed the language before. I believe he said, do not insult the Sharingan. Thank goodness for universal translators, Cyborg said, fishing out a small, round gray disc. Look, Robin said, with forced patience, you there. Give up peacefully, and no one gets hurt. Give up. The boy's soft tones sounded far more dangerous than any shout. Oh, no, you cannot make me do that, ever. He began to move his hands rapidly, and the Titans automatically fanned out, keeping their eyes fixed on him. Kaden, Gukakyu no Jutsu. As a massive fireball emerged from his mouth, Terra quickly used a defensive move, creating an earth wall in front of her friends to block off the fire, while Starfire took off into the air, attacking him with starbolts and eye lasers. Robin fished out several explosive discs and held them ready. The moment he had a clear shot, he flung them forward, willing them to strike their target. There was a puff of smoke, and then, lo and behold, all that was left of the boy was a large rock. Robin was left gaping at it with an open mouth and open eyes. As he stared at the rock, trying to make sense of what he had seen, he spotted some movement going on near him. Robin! Look out! Terra bellowed. Frantically, she tried to force up an earth wall, but she failed to react in time, and Robin found himself reeling backwards from the blow he received. This guy's good, Robin thought, as he engaged in a ferocious hand-to-hand combat with the boy. Only Slade's been able to put up this kind of fight with me so far. The boy's odd red eyes watched Robin's every move closely, and Robin was forced to admit that he was getting nowhere. Furious at himself, he tried to lash out with his stick, but his opponent, in one swift movement, drew his sword and sliced it into half before Robin could react. Beast Boy came to Robin's aid at once, morphing into a lion and charging while Robin kept their opponent engaged. At the same time, Starfire, Cyborg and Terra moved in, waiting for Robin to back up before they mounted their attack. Roaring, Beast Boy pounced forward, but at the last moment, the Sharingan possessor made a startlingly quick move to avoid it. As Beast Boy tried to recover and make his next move, Robin backed up while Cyborg moved in and aimed his sonic cannon at the dark-haired offender and fired, while Terra tore up some rocks from the ground and attempted to smash them into their enemy. It seemed, however, that their opponent could predict their every movement, for not one of their attacks struck him. His movements were faster and smoother than any the Titans had seen, and they were growing more and more frustrated by the second. "I can't seem to hit him at all," Cyborg panted. "It's like he can read our every move." "We have to try," Robin snapped. "He's a threat to the public, and like all the others, he has to go down." "Any ideas on how to stop him, then?" Terra demanded. "Split up and take him down." "Great idea," Beast Boy muttered, eyes raised. Their enemy's cold, measured gaze continued to fix itself on the Titans as they fanned out and mounted their attacks in unison, keeping a distance. There was a furious amount of fighting and smoke and chaos as the Titans gave it their all, determined to stop their opponent no matter the cost. "Sasuke!" The sudden yell of concern was enough to draw the Titans' attention to a group of people running towards the boy called Sasuke, all of them wearing clothes just as odd. Cyborg gave a groan, unable to believe that they were now outnumbered 2-1. "There are too many of them now," Starfire gasped. "We honestly need Raven and Nightwalker here now," Robin sighed. "Sasuke, we're here." A blonde-haired boy with odd whisker marks on his face was running forward with his numerous comrades. Upon seeing the Titans, he froze momentarily before making an odd sign with his hands. "Tajukage Bunshin no Jutsu." "What the?" Robin's eyes widened as multiple blonde boys appeared all of a sudden, more than he could count. There was nothing whatsoever to distinguish the real one from the clones. "Out of my way, Naruto!" Sasuke snapped. "I can take care of these losers myself." Chidori Nagashi. "Ah!" All 5 Titans yelled aloud with shock and pain as a powerful blast of lightning waves emerged from Sasuke's body, radiating outwards with terrible force. There wasn't enough time for anyone to dodge it. Naruto's shadow clones went up in smoke, literally, and Robin and his comrades found themselves lying motionless on the ground, moaning and somewhat paralyzed. I can't move," Beast Boy groaned. "This sucks," Terra agreed. Sasuke towered over them with his sword, his eyes surveying them imperiously. Robin gritted his teeth and forced himself to move, his limbs feeling like lumps of metal, 1 inch at a time. A kunai suddenly flashed in Sasuke's hand, its wicked tip glinting distinctly. Robin swallowed, and against the odds, he managed to move to one side. That possibly saved his life, for the next thing he knew, the kunai was flying towards him. Sasuke obviously aiming for his heart. Only by twisting to one side did Robin manage to keep his chest safe, though the kunai did pierce him in the shoulder. Robin hissed with pain, clenching his fist against the agony. Blood ran down his clothes, and dripped down his left arm. Starfire was screaming with fright, calling Robin's name again and again. He couldn't answer. All he could do was breathe in and out, trying to calm himself. Bleeding to death was the last thing he wanted. Sasuke whipped out another kunai, and a shuriken in his other hand. The Titans froze, unable to believe what was happening. Naruto glanced at Sasuke, face twisted, then he stepped forward. "Sasuke, don't do this. There's no need to, out of my way, idiot." Sasuke shoved Naruto aside roughly, and before Naruto could move, Sasuke hurled the kunai forward. This time, it hit Terra in the arm, eliciting a cry of pain from her. No. Terra. Beast Boy howled aloud as if he had been the one who got hit. Azareth Metreon Zinthos. Hope leapt into the hearts of the downed titans as they heard Raven's familiar chant. In a second, she and Nightwalker were there, hoods drawn up over their heads. Without hesitation, Raven threw her arms upwards, and the titans found themselves engulfed in dark energy. The dark energy swirled around them like water, blocking Sasuke's view. Then, in a flash, just as suddenly as Raven had appeared, all of them were gone, safely teleported away. To those who have never encountered Nightwalker before, he's my original creation. If you read Dark Heroes, much more about him is explained. The girl with the gem Robin sat very still on his chair back at the T-Tower, gazing at his bleeding shoulder with dismay. The kunai was still embedded in his shoulder, smeared with his blood. Starfire was hovering around him nervously, hands clasped as she fussed over Robin anxiously like a mother. I can draw the kunai out slowly, Nightwalker said, upon a thorough examination of Robin's injury. It will hurt, but it's the only way. Robin nodded stiffly, his face very white. All right, go ahead. Nightwalker placed his palm just above the kunai handle and with extreme caution, drew out the kunai inch by inch, using his metal bending technique to perfection. Robin sucked in his breath sharply, but kept himself as still as possible, while Nightwalker used a water-weaving technique at the same time to reduce blood loss. All right. It's out now, Raven announced. Now, just let me heal that wound for you. As Nightwalker left to discard the kunai, Raven lightly laid a hand on Robin's wound and began a healing technique. Ah, much better now, Robin sighed, as the pain diminished. Thanks. Good thing we have a doctor around here. I'm no doctor, Raven replied. And I can't heal this wound completely. I can only take away your pain and speed up the healing process, no more. Nightwalker. Got it. Nightwalker kneeled down by their side and emptied his water container onto Robin's shoulder, weaving the water back and forth against the wound. The coolness of it was most refreshing, and Robin finally let his tensed muscles relax. We still haven't caught that bad guy, Cyborg reminded them. That can wait, Raven replied firmly. The moment I saw you and Terra in that condition, I knew I had to get you all out. She cast a glance at Terra, who was gingerly testing her newly healed arm, trying to see how much she could move it. Thanks, Raven. You certainly saved us all, Starfire sighed. When that Sasuke guy pointed his weapons at us when we were down, I thought we were all going to die. I doubt it, Nightwalker said. You're not the Teen Titans for nothing, you know, and we've been in tighter spots before. Jobdo. He and Raven retreated and allowed Robin to test his arm. Keep it still for the next few days, Raven told him. It'll need time to heal completely. Can I still fight with it? Probably, but I don't recommend you do that, if you want to retain full use of that arm. Great. So now I'm pretty much out of commission for the time being, Robin muttered. Robin. Raven cleared her throat, and Robin, just in time, remembered how cranky he had once been when he had fractured his arm. Sorry, he mumbled. Well, let's get down to discussing those bad guys, Cyborg said. First of all, who on earth is he? I've looked through all the records, and I just can't discover his identity. Perhaps he's a traveler from another dimension, Raven suggested. Excuse me? All eyes were suddenly turned to Raven, wide open. Not too long ago, someone entered here from another dimension, Raven said. I felt the dimensional door being opened, very clearly. There's a possibility that Sasuke guy is the one. Beast Boy let out a long, slow whistle. That makes him even more dangerous than he already is, Robin frowned. For all we know, he could even open a dimensional door right in here and attack us while we're sleeping. I can handle that, Raven said calmly. I think I can set up a dimensional barrier in this place so no one gets in that way. Do it. Raven left to do her business, while the rest of the Titans remained where they were and tried their best to remember that they were crime fighters and had to stop Sasuke regardless of how powerful he was. I just don't get who they are. Neji frowned hard as he and his comrades lounged around in the abandoned hut they had fortunately discovered. None of them have any chakra in their body at all. Impossible, Kiba said. They were all using ninjutsus, isn't it? That makes this matter even more peculiar, Kakashi agreed. Sasuke, can you tell us anything more about them? All eyes were turned towards Sasuke at once. Persuading him to join them for the time being had not been easy at all, but in the end, Naruto had prevailed, saying that if they were to survive in this strange new world, they had to work together, like it or not. As to why Sasuke had appeared to fight the two runaway ninjas, he had said nothing about it, merely that he was acting in his own interest. Even now, not one person there felt comfortable in his presence. There was still too much to be said and done between them, but until their very important mission was completed, they could do nothing about Sasuke, much as they wanted to. I've nothing to say about them, except that they're all weak losers. Kakashi rolled his eyes, but remained calm. I mean, tell us more about their powers. I don't know what sort of ninjutsu techniques they are. Can you tell us something about them, at least? The red-haired girl can fly and release some sort of green chakra from her eyes and hands. The green boy can turn into different animals. The metallic fellow can shoot out some sort of blue energy from his arm. The other girl can manipulate earth. And the black-haired guy seems to be a taijutsu specialist. And the dark girl who appeared at the last minute has some sort of teleportation jutsu, Shikamaru put in. Formidable team, Hinata murmured. They'll have a weakness somewhere, for sure, Shikamaru said. Hey, isn't our main goal to stop those ninjas from getting the gem? Sakura said. Remember what Tsunade-sama said? If those ninjas get their hands on the gem, that demon will be released, and the whole ninja world will fall. Shouldn't we be concentrating on finding her and keeping her and the gem safe rather than talking about those guys? Can't think why anyone would want to help release that demon, Kiba muttered with disgust. And what was the prophecy? Hinata asked shyly. The gem was born of evil's fire, the gem shall be his portal. He comes to claim, he comes to sire, the end of all things mortal. Kakashi quoted. Yes, that reminds me. I have a picture of the girl who is supposedly holding the gem. Sai spoke up. If those ninjas teleported to the right world, that girl should be in this dimension. Here's the picture. He reached into his pouch and unrolled a piece of paper, passing it round. Odd-looking girl, Kiba remarked, as they stared at the photo. The girl was pale-skinned, with dark eyes and hair and a red gem on her forehead. Her clothes were all black and dark blue, and appeared just as mysterious as the person herself. Wait a moment. Shikamaru's eyes widened as he snatched the photo from Neji and peered at it. This girl, isn't she the one who used that teleportation jutsu? What? Neji exclaimed. I didn't see her face, Shikamaru said, but I believe she has the same clothes. Are you serious? Naruto demanded. Of course, Shikamaru retorted, sounding somewhat irritated. Of course, I can't be entirely sure, since she appeared and disappeared so quickly, but it's possible. And she just slipped away, right when we had to talk to her, Kakashi sighed. Perfect timing. Doesn't matter, Naruto said fiercely. At least we know those ninjas took us to the right dimension. All we have to do is find her. We can't let those ninjas get their hands on the gem, no matter the cost. And how are we supposed to speak to her when she's on there? Sighed. Sakura demanded. Worse still, what if those ninjas find her before we do? Then let's get started on the hunt. Thank you to all my reviewers, I really love your reviews. Following Raven blood was still spattered all over the ground when Raven and Nightwalker arrived. The entire area had been established as a crime scene, with countless cops, detectives and forensic workers working hard to get the information they needed. As Raven and Nightwalker approached them, Detective Wilson, a detective the Titans knew well, stood up and smiled wearily. You two are just the ones we need, Wilson said. Could you use your telepathy to locate the offenders, you think? We can try. What happened? Someone called 911 saying she heard gunshots going off, and lots of screaming. By the time we arrived, 2 men were dead, and a woman critically injured. There was no sign of the perpetrators. We called in a K-9 unit to help us, but the dog couldn't seem to pick up on the scent. Someone followed one of the suspects, but the others got away. How many suspects were involved? 3. Right. We'll see if we can locate them for you. Raven and Nightwalker headed towards the 2 corpses that had been laid aside, white cloths covering them. The scent of blood was overpowering, making Raven wrinkle her nose. She glanced up at Nightwalker, lips pinched tight, and Nightwalker nodded. Together, they knelt down by the bodies, keeping a distance from it. Let's do this, Raven. Azareth Metreon Zinthos. Almost immediately, images popped up in their minds. Gruesome images of the brutal murder flashed across swiftly, followed by the faces of the killers. Raven and Nightwalker bore it as well as they could, making sure they got a good lock on the offenders before ending the telepathic contact. Got anything? Wilson asked hopefully. One is in some sort of abandoned room, around 12 miles north of here. The other one is heading south in a black car, along the freeway. Wilson nodded, writing notes vigorously while Raven and Nightwalker continued to pour out info into his ears. Thank you, he said gratefully. Without you, we'd never have picked up this kind of intel. Now, let me inform the others and start a pursuit. When we catch them, can you identify them for us? No problem. Anything else for us to do? Not for the moment. I'll contact you if we need any further help. Thanks, you too. Raven and Nightwalker were about to leave when one of the other detectives, a younger recruit, ran up to Wilson, face alight with excitement. Detective, he yelled. I just got a call from Sergeant Blake. He said the suspect who was followed by that witness just got caught by his team and the Titans. Good, good. Wilson grinned and nodded with glee. Thank the Titans for me, and get Sergeant Blake on the phone with me. I've got some intel to be passed on. So, 1 down, 2 more to go, Nightwalker commented, as he and Raven departed. And I'm guessing it won't be long before they're behind bars too. Like all other criminals, Raven agreed. Together, they walked away into the night, never once looking back to see 10 pairs of eyes watching them closely. So, that's her, isn't it? Naruto whispered to Sai. Yes, it is, Sai whispered back. No doubt about it. Follow her, then, Sakura hissed. Using all their skills and stealth, the 9 ninjas and 1 very large dog shadowed their target and her companion, keeping very quiet. Calm as they appeared, they were all equally nervous, fearing that at any moment, the 2 ninjas they had been pursuing might suddenly pop up. After they had been sucked into the dimensional door, the 2 of them had simply vanished, and Neji and Hinata could not seem to locate them at all, even with their Byakugan. When we find her, Hinata asked, how are we to convince her to come with us? I don't think we speak the same language. We'll deal with that when we've caught up to her first, Kakashi replied sensibly. Come on, keep up the pace. Their target, more than once, nearly vanished into the darkness, her black and blue clothes blending into the background perfectly. Were it not for Akamaru's nose, they would probably have lost her. So far, she had shown no signs that she knew she was being followed. Sensei, when are we just going to get down to stopping her? Shikamaru inquired. Soon. Be patient. We don't want to scare them, do we? Even if we did, so what? Sasuke sneered. Sasuke, we're here to warn the girl about those ninjas and keep the gem safe, Kakashi said patiently. Not scare her. Sensei, she's stopping, Kiba hissed. What made her do that? Sakura demanded. Neji peered forward with his Byakugan, narrowing his eyes to get a better view. It looks like she and her companion are surrounded by 6 or 7 men, he said, after a moment. And all those men have knives in their belts. Okay. So it's safe to say they're not friendly? Shikamaru said. Doesn't seem like it, Neji replied. We've got to help them, Naruto urged. He nearly launched himself forward thoughtlessly, and just in time, Kiba managed to grab him. Don't be an idiot, Kiba snapped. What kind of ninja would just rush into a situation without evaluating it first? There's nothing to evaluate, Naruto snapped. Idiot, Sasuke sighed. Nothing is ever as it seems to be. Have you learned nothing? Enough, Kakashi said mildly. Both of you, stop arguing. It's not going to help anyone. Neji, Hinata, keep an eye on them and tell us what's going on. The two of them are not moving now, Neji reported. They're standing back to back, looking around. I think they're saying something to those men. No one's attacking yet? No, sensei, shouldn't we do something? Naruto demanded. I was hoping there'd be no confrontations, Shikamaru sighed, but I guess we can't exactly hope for a completely peaceful solution in this mission. We make our move now, Kakashi instructed. But slowly. All of you, spread out and advance slowly. Keep your presence hidden, until I give the order to attack. I don't know if those men are ninjas, and what sort of abilities they have, so keep an eye on them. I sure hope that girl can fight, Sakura remarked. Even if she can't, we'll be there to help her, Naruto said determinedly. All right. Ninjas, time to get down to work, Kakashi said. Spread out and wait for my command. Got it. The 9 of them, along with Akamaru, efficiently moved forward and spread out, thankful that the darkness was enough to cloak their presence. Let's hope we're not going up against ninjas as strong as this team. Kakashi thought to himself. Clash Raven and Nightwalker stood in the middle of it all, exasperated and annoyed at this interruption. Surrounded by 7 armed men certainly wasn't the most pleasant thing that could happen to them. It wasn't the most dangerous situation to be in. The duo was used to handling far more dangerous situations, but they were tired after a very long day of crime fighting, and just wanted to go home. Seriously, do we never get a second of peace these days? Raven sighed. We're crime fighters, mate. How much peace can we expect to have? Brilliant point, Raven muttered sarcastically. Hey, you. We don't want much trouble either, one of the men began. Just surrender all your money and we may leave you in peace. We don't carry money with us. Get lost, Nightwalker snapped. Yeah, right. No money on you. Who would believe such nonsense? Boys. He made a gesture with his hand, and the others began to move in. By then, watching the proceedings from a safe distance, Kakashi could no longer bear it anymore. Move now, he hissed, just loud enough to be heard by the ninjas. Naruto and the others nodded, and moved forward silently but swiftly, careful to remain unseen. Who moved first, the ninjas didn't know. All they knew was that there was a sudden movement unaccompanied by any warning whatsoever, and then one of the men was lunging forward at top speed, brandishing his knife. Naruto gave a yell of warning and immediately threw himself forward. Raven and Nightwalker responded to the attack by taking off into the air, calmly levitating well above the robbers. Naruto stopped in his tracks, his jaw dropping. It was the first time in his life he had ever seen anyone flying. You're getting on our nerves, idiots, Raven sighed, arms folded. And seeing how much you enjoy robbing passerbys, I think jail is the perfect place for you. Azareth Metreon Zinthos. One swirl of her wrist, and the robbers witnessed their knives and guns flying out of their belts. Whoa! Kiba exclaimed, his jaw dropping. How? Realizing they were outpowered, the robbers immediately tried to run, only to run straight into a huge black shield. Eyes bulging and jaws dropping, they whirled round swiftly, flinching as Raven and Nightwalker landed. Going somewhere? Nightwalker asked mockingly. Well, I think that until the cops arrive, it's best if you stay put, you know. Can't have you prowling the streets like this. Shifting his leg, he lightly tapped a foot on the ground, and in unison, all 7 men found themselves held in place by 7 earth cases. Impossible. One of them breathed. How could anyone? What are you two? None of your business, Raven retorted. Ah, and here comes the rest of the cavalry, Nightwalker remarked, as the other 5 titans arrived on the scene. Titans, don't worry, you just missed the trouble. Really? Cyborg groaned, looking at the walled-up gangsters. Well, that's a pity. I'd love to have been able to kick butt again. Robin was not looking at them, however. All his attention was now focused on an all-too-familiar face amongst the strangers. Sasuke. You, Robin exclaimed. Titans, get him. Sasuke immediately performed hand signs at top speed, while Naruto leapt to his side to help defend him. Kaiten, Gukakyu no Jutsu. Sasuke roared, spewing out a huge fireball. Nightwalker. Robin bellowed. Nightwalker didn't have to be told. In a flash, he threw himself in front of the Titans and absorbed all the fire into his body, calm and controlled. Sasuke actually looked shocked, and the other ninja's jaws dropped. How did he do that? Naruto demanded. He's got some sort of fire-absorbing jutsu, I think, Kakashi said. Sharingan activated. Sasuke stared at Nightwalker intensely before moving forward with blinding speed, deciding to attack him with close combat. Nightwalker had almost no time whatsoever to react, and hastily defended himself by summoning a powerful gust of wind that completely surrounded him, ensuring that no one could approach him from any side. Sasuke was blown away immediately, before he saw it coming. Sasuke! Stop fussing and get them! Sasuke shouted. Can't we just get the girl and go? Kiba asked. Well, her friends don't look too friendly, do they? Shikamaru said. Starfire began a barrage of attacks on the ninjas with her starbolts, pelting them non-stop with all her might. The ninjas were forced to retreat under the might of it, promptly taking cover wherever they could. What kind of, some sort of chakra attack, and how are we going to take her down? Naruto demanded. Looks like this mission is going to be more than just protecting the gem, Shikamaru groaned. They were startled at that moment by Beast Boy, who had morphed into a monumental T-Rex to frighten them out of their wits. With a roar that threatened to bring the skies down on everyone, he stomped towards the ninjas, eliciting gasps of shock from them. Naruto immediately responded by beginning to form a Rasengan in his hand, working as quickly as he could, sweat pouring down his face from the effort. Rasengan completed, he rushed forward towards Beast Boy, arm outstretched, teeth gritted. Cyborg immediately blasted Naruto with his sonic cannon as he yelled out a warning to his friend. Naruto went flying backwards with a grunt, startled by the shocking force. He heard Sakura screaming, and Sai shouting something. Chidori Nagashi. Sasuke roared, sending out massive blasts of lightning from his body. The last time he had fought the Titans, this technique had worked well. He had no reason to doubt that it would be just as effective this round. Much to his shock, it was as good as useless this time. The moment Nightwalker saw the lightning emerging, he took action first, absorbing all the lightning into his body the same way he had absorbed the fire earlier. As Sasuke stared at him and tried to regain his wits quickly, Nightwalker retaliated with devastating force, absorbing the moisture from the air and transforming it into a water whip, striking Sasuke with it sharply to the point that Sasuke lost his footing and actually fell. He was back on his feet again in a flash, but Nightwalker was just as quick, and continued to use his water techniques to keep Sasuke off balance. Enough! Sasuke bellowed, losing his temper altogether. He was not going to put up with this nonsense forever. Squeezing one eye shut, he concentrated on all his chakra, slowly activating his Mangekyo Sharingan. There was no way their enemies could resist this technique, surely. Stop! Raven's deafening, urgent yell tore through the air like 1,000 daggers. Titans and ninjas alike paused in their attacks to be looking at her with shock. The ninjas did not understand the language Raven spoke, but comprehension was not a necessary factor in making them freeze. All of you, stop! Raven commanded sharply. I think there's been a bit of a misunderstanding here. Can we at least talk first? I don't understand a word you're saying, Naruto said. He says that he doesn't understand us, Starfire translated. Well, I've got a translator with me, thank goodness. Cyborg fished it out and activated it, tossing it onto the ground between them. All right, can someone say what's going on, then? Sakura demanded. I don't think they're here for evil purposes, Raven said, frowning. I don't feel any evil vibes coming out from them. And I'm sure that if they really intended to finish us off, they'd have attacked me and Nightwalker much earlier. Wait, you mean you know we were following you and your friend? Neji said. I sensed your presence a long time ago. Sensed our presence? Shikamaru echoed. Does that mean you can sense chakra too? I'm a telepath, so yes, I can sense things. Sasuke's face was still hostile as he glared at the Titans. Talking is pointless, he snapped. I say we just finish them off now. He was about to bring out a powerful ninjutsu, but Raven, with a calm swirl of her wrist, stopped him effortlessly with her telekinesis. I suggest you calm down and listen before you start that again, Raven warned him coolly. Now, why don't you explain, from your point of view, what's going on? We'll not attack, I promise you. Eyeing them warily, keeping all his senses alert nonetheless, Kakashi started from the beginning, explaining how their world was under serious threat. Their enemies had discovered the existence of a certain gem that could summon an all-powerful demon into the world, and intended to use it to their advantage. Raven had already been identified as the person who had connections to the gem, and several rogue ninjas had been sent out to kidnap her and get their hands on the gem. As ninjas of the leaf, they had been assigned to stop those ninjas and ensure the gem remained out of their hands. If Raven felt the slightest iota of fear or shock, nothing of it showed on her expressionless face. She merely nodded gravely, absorbing the information quietly. I'm not ignorant of it, she answered eventually. Some things I know even before they happen, and this is just one of those things. You knew? Sakura said with surprise. Let's just say I have certain mind powers. Then, the gem is safe? Hinata asked hopefully. Those ninjas are not getting the gem. No, Raven answered firmly, her eyes cold and distant. Not as long as I'm alive. If they want it, they'll have to finish me off first. And they'll have to get past us too, Robin put in. Well, now that you know about it, Kakashi breathed out with relief. This will make our mission easier. Now all we have to do is plan what to do about those ninjas. We'll face them when they come, Raven replied calmly. There's no point in worrying about these things constantly. Do you even understand what will happen if? Raven looked at Naruto as if he were a half-wit lacking brains. Of course I know, she replied, with a note of impatience. Believe me, I know much more about this than any of you do. Then what do you propose we do? Sai asked sensibly. For now, I suggest we go to my home, sit down, and discuss this properly. What makes you think we're going to enter your home, after this altercation? Sasuke demanded. Because if you want your ninja world to survive, we have to cooperate, like it or not, Raven replied. I'm the one here who knows most about this demon matter. And I can help prevent a disaster. And we're supposed to just trust you? Sasuke sneered. I'm not asking for your trust, Raven answered. Trust must be earned, not freely given. I'm only asking for your cooperation. More than 10 pairs of eyes surveyed each other critically, sizing up the situation as best as possible. This certainly wasn't a situation anyone had thought to find themselves in, but now that they were in it, they had little choice but to go along with Raven's suggestion. Very well, Kakashi said, making his decision quickly. Now that we've established we're on the same side, shall we move? I was waiting for you to say that, Raven said. And I promise you, there'll be no more attacks on you on our part, Mr. Kakashi. Kakashi was visibly startled at this. How did you know my name? I can read minds. For a starter, can you not do that? Raven shrugged, saying nothing. How about introducing ourselves, then? Terra suggested. Frankly, Robin said, I think it's best if we head home first. And so, they all trooped back to the Titan's tower, both sides not quite willing to trust each other, yet left with no choice but to cooperate, under the circumstances. Discussion. Naruto took a long look around at the Titan's home, entranced by the sight of the furnishings. It was the first time in his life he had ever seen a home like this. So huge that it seemed to be a village on its own. There were countless sofas, tables and chairs scattered around the main hall, with the most sophisticated doors and items Naruto had seen. He didn't even know what most of them were called. Cyborg-san, did you really build this place? Naruto asked in awe. How did? Oh, it took me ages, believe me, Cyborg replied. And I had some help. See that door there? I had too. Raven cleared her throat pointedly, and Cyborg, who was just about to start telling Naruto about how he built the door, quickly shut his mouth. Raven-san, do you want to say something? Kakashi asked, seeing the expression on her face. I was just about to tell Cyborg that we hold focus on the issue at hand. Ah, of course, Kakashi said calmly. Well, Raven-san, you said you're the one who knows the most about this. So, tell us more. What do you want to know? First of all, is the gem safe? Naruto demanded. Yes, it is. No need to worry about it. As long as I'm standing, the gem will stay safe. It was Neji who spoke up next, his forehead creased into a frown. Are you sure of that? The ninjas sent to get you are more powerful. Then you can imagine, I'm aware of that. Raven's odd eyes fixed themselves firmly on Neji's face, and he felt a slight chill creeping up his spine. Her eyes were cold, so emotionless that it was like she had forgotten how to feel a long time ago. And I'm not overly afraid of them. I know how to keep the gem safe, and I'll do just that. Good. Kakashi smiled slightly behind his mask. Have you sighted those rogue ninjas anywhere yet? No, but I may be able to track them down. How? Sakura asked. I'm a telepath. Oh, okay. Kiba looked at Raven with raised eyes. It's a mind power. I can sense things with it and read people's minds, Raven replied succinctly. So, you can track down those ninjas with your mind powers? Shikamaru asked. Probably. If you let me into your mind, I'll be able to get a lock on their aura and sense them. So, we're just going to go after them directly? Sai asked. Is that really the best option? I think we can handle them together, Naruto said optimistically. There are 10 of us ninjas, and 7 of you. I'm sure 17 of us can handle 2 ninjas. FR of them, Kakashi corrected. Remember that another 2 had already been sent out earlier? Actually, Raven put in, there are only 2 of them left now. The other 2 found me a week ago, and tried to force me to give up the gem to them, so I had no choice but to take them down by force. Naruto heaved a sigh of relief. If you managed to take them down, then I'm guessing those last 2 ninjas won't be too much trouble, then. That's right, Cyborg said enthusiastically. All of us were there when Raven kicked their butts. Oh boy. You should have seen her in action after those ninja freaks said they had come for the gem. Raven glared at Cyborg. You think I took them down to put on a show of some sort? Nope. Cyborg grinned nervously. I was merely telling them the truth. He could still see the fight vividly in his head. The 2 ninjas had finally pounced on Raven in public, in an isolated street, when she and the Titans had been taking a walk. Raven had immediately fought back with her usual skills, and with help from her friends, she had taken down both ninjas in 10 minutes, before sending them to another dimension where they could bother no one else. In the meantime, Robin voiced out, I was wondering something else. He glanced at the ninjas pointedly. What? Naruto asked. If you're from another dimension, then how on earth did those ninjas find out about the gem? Robin asked sensibly. Now, that's a good question, Shikamaru murmured. I don't have any answer to that, Kakashi admitted. Tsunade-sama told us nothing about how those ninjas gained their intel. But that shouldn't be overly important, should it? Naruto asked. And why is that? Robin challenged. Because our main focus is to keep you and the gem safe, not worry about where the ninjas gained their information from, Naruto replied. Wrong, Robin said bluntly. Until we can figure out who is passing on the information, and how, we'll never be able to solve this problem completely. What we have to do is to find out who the informer is, and how he's been passing on info to those ninjas. And how are we to do that? Neji asked. Raven, Robin asked, turning to her, after we've tracked those ninjas, do you think you could read their minds and discover who the informer is? There's the possibility they themselves might not know who the informer is, Raven replied, frowning. And how are we supposed to find out who the informer is, then? Hinata asked. The briefest of expressions crossed Raven's face ever so quickly before vanishing just as swiftly. I already have an idea of who it may be, she replied. You do? Kiba exclaimed, and Akamaru barked. Who is it? Terra demanded. I believe the informer is none other than Slade. A very long silence passed amongst the startled titans, who all stared at Raven with open eyes and mouths. It was Robin who spoke next, his eyes threatening to fall out of his head. "Slade," he spluttered. "Wait, how do you know this? How come you never?" "I can see more than what the eye sees at times," Raven answered darkly, "and I know more about this matter than I've admitted. So believe me when I say that Slade is probably the informer." Robin swore angrily and slammed his fist on the table. "Damn Slade," he snarled. "Always him." "You know this Slade guy?" Sasuke asked. "He's a longtime enemy of ours," Starfire explained. "He's more than an enemy," Robin exploded. "He's the city's worst villain, a menace who must be destroyed at any cost. And I will not rest easy until we've stopped him for good." "And how do we stop him then?" Beast Boy asked. "I say we go on a massive manhunt and take him down together." "And where are we going to start the hunt in the first place?" Cyborg demanded. Slade could be absolutely anywhere. Kakashi cleared his throat loudly at this point, and the titans fell silent, turning to look at him. "Is this Slade very powerful?" "Oh, yes," Robin said, his face darkening. "Too powerful for his own good." "And does he plan to hunt down Raven-san too?" Naruto asked anxiously. "It'll come down to that eventually," Raven replied. "Not now. But one day, he'll be the one we have to look out for." "Well then, I suppose what Tsunade-sama instructed us to do can save you from this Slade," Kakashi said cheerfully. "What instructions did she give?" Nightwalker asked. "She wants you to travel back to Konoha with us," Kakashi said. "Our instructions were to stop those ninjas, and to bring you back with us. Tsunade-sama wishes to have a word with you." Raven shrugged. "That's fine with me. And what about those ninjas?" Neji asked. "Are we going to leave them prowling around here?" "Leave them to me," Raven said calmly. "It's best if they're taken down quickly and quietly, without too much fuss." "I'll come with you," Nightwalker offered. "In case anything goes wrong, I can back you up." "In fact," Beast Boy put in, "we should all go. Good chance for us to show these ninjas that we can kick butt as well as them." "Beast Boy." Raven glared at him and cuffed him on the ear. "This isn't for show, you know. This is serious business." "I can be serious when I have to," Beast Boy protested innocently. "Anyway," Terra said, determined to ease the slight tension, "I think Beast Boy's right. We should all go face those ninjas together. I hardly think anyone can stand against us when we're all together." "Raven, can you track them down?" "Kakashi, can you let me into your mind? Using my telepathy is the easiest way to find them." "Go ahead. Just don't look too deeply into my mind." "I won't. Promise." Raven leaned forward and laid a hand on Kakashi's forehead lightly. "Azareth Metreon Zinthos." Her eyes dilated and grew strangely distant, seeing nothing and everything at the same time. Slowly, carefully, Raven probed Kakashi's memories lightly, searching his recent ones briefly until she came across the ones she needed. She saw the two ninjas running from him and the team, moving across the forest with remarkable speed. Pressing deeper, she focused in on them until she could almost see into their minds as well. She held on to that thin thread, ensuring she had a good sense of their aura, and then she withdrew from Kakashi's mind slowly. "All right. I think I've got a good feel of their aura now," Raven said, as Kakashi blinked and rubbed his temple. "All I have to do now is to sense that aura again." She levitated several feet upwards and crossed her legs underneath her, assuming her usual meditation position. Azareth Metreon Zinthos. The titans and ninjas weighed. Raven was still and quiet for several minutes before she stirred at last, her eyes opening. The titans immediately crowded around her eagerly, waiting for news. "Well?" Robin demanded impatiently. "I've found them," Raven replied, calmly. "Where?" Naruto asked, his eyes widening. "They're around 15 miles away from here," Raven said. "In an isolated part of the city." "Can you lead us there?" Sakura asked. "I can." "Then let's go," Naruto cried, pumping a fist in the air. "Let's do this together." "Titans, go," Robin commanded, and at that, all the titans and ninjas sprang into action, following Raven out of the tower. Taking down the pursuers. They're near enough. Raven stopped in mid-flight, and her companions immediately halted as well. Where exactly are they? Kakashi asked. There. Raven pointed in a westerly direction. Neji-kun, can you sight them? Kakashi asked. Neji squeezed his eyes shut for a second before opening them again. Byakugan. Everyone waited as Neji surveyed the place with his Kekkei Genkai, seeing everything and missing nothing. His eyes fixed themselves on a certain point, and then widened. I see them now, he said excitedly. They're together in a dark corner, saying something. Lead us there, Neji-kun. Keeping his Byakugan activated, Neji led the team forward, until he decided they were close enough. Using hand signals, the Titans signaled to the ninjas to retreat behind the wall of the closest building. We should take them by surprise, Robin said, keeping his voice low. Actually, I have a better idea, Raven said. What idea? Nightwalker asked. I'll lure them out here, Raven offered. I'll pretend to walk in on them by chance, feign fear and run out here. At some point, I'll trip and make it look easy for them to get me. Once their focus is entirely on me, you strike and take them down. Sounds good to me, Naruto smiled. Kakashi-sensei. Yes, we should go along with Raven-san's plan. Move into position. Titans and ninjas alike silently sneaked forwards until they were in position, all concealed but ready to strike. Raven glanced at her comrades, and at a nod from Kakashi, she calmly moved towards where the ninjas were, pulling down her hood to ensure her face was fully visible. On and on she walked until she knew they were right in front of her. Oh! As the two ninjas loomed up before her eyes, Raven jerked to a sudden stop, doing her best to put on an expression of surprise. Sorry. I didn't know I wasn't alone. She gazed firmly at the two ninjas for several seconds before beginning to back away. Get her. Aha. This is going well, Raven thought, as the duo leapt to their feet and launched themselves forward wildly. She immediately made her move, putting on an expression of terror as best as she could before running away on foot instead of flying. At the same time, she sent out a telepathic message to Nightwalker. I'm coming out with them behind me. Get ready. Got it, we're ready. The two ninjas were now whipping out shurikens and kunais, positioning them in their hands swiftly. Arms drawn back, they hurled their weapons forward, aiming straight for Raven's back. Raven halted them easily with her telekinesis, increasing her pace. She could sense her companion's presence nearby, much to her relief. She ran on, now and then turning round to look at the ninjas. They were closing in on her already, completely filled with determination to get her no matter the cost. All right. They should be in sight in half a minute. Raven warned the others. The moment I trip up, attack. You can't escape us this time. We'll see soon enough who the victim will be, Raven thought mockingly. Soon enough, they had exited the dark alleyway. Raven ran on, then deliberately pretended to stumble and trip heavily. With some effort, she managed to let out a cry of apparent pain and shock as she went down. Now, they struck without warning. As Raven scrambled to her feet, ready to join the fight, the Titans and ninjas launched a joint attack on the two rogue ninjas, pouring all their strength into the attack. For a minute or so, there was nothing but chaos as the two parties fought violently, the two rogue ninjas struggling for their very lives. Raven could barely even see past the mass of struggling and shouting bodies, but she sensed the sheer terror of the two ninjas, and knew her comrades were having no difficulty in tackling them. Nightwalker made the final move against the two ninjas. With a swirl of his hand, he lifted them upwards and left them suspended in midair before paralyzing their bodies entirely. Bruised, battered and exhausted, the two ninjas offered no resistance whatsoever, merely gaped at Nightwalker with open eyes and mouths. Whoa! Naruto stared at Nightwalker with amazement. How are you doing that? I thought your power lies in your ability to manipulate the elements, not control someone's body. There's plenty of water in blood, Nightwalker replied. By manipulating that water, I can control someone's body. Not that I use this technique often. Kakashi let out a long, slow breath. Well, it's most fortunate that we're your allies, not enemies, he commented. Raven. Nightwalker glanced at her and gave a nod. Do what you have to with them. Got it. Keep them still for several more minutes. With that, Raven advanced upon the ninjas and extended a hand forward, projecting herself into their minds. The others waited patiently as Raven conducted her business, running through their memories for any information that would be useful. Image after image after image passed through her, but much to her annoyance and disappointment, nothing in their minds was of use. They knew nothing else that Raven and her comrades had yet to know. With a sigh of exasperation, she withdrew her mind and muttered an expletive under her breath. Got anything? Robin asked hopefully. They know nothing that we don't know yet, Raven sighed. Sakura groaned aloud. And what do we do with them? She asked, pointing at the ninjas. I'll send them to another dimension. Raven looked pointedly at the ninjas, and sensed their fear as they heard her clearly. You wouldn't dare. One of them protested. Watch me. Raven stepped back and raised her arms, summoning all her power. A chant flowed forth from her lips, the language and words unknown to everyone but her and Nightwalker. Ahead of them, the air shifted. An eerie white and blue light appeared, merged together in an intricate dance before expanding to form a visible door of some sort. Nightwalker. Throw them in. No. The ninjas howled aloud with outrage, but there was nothing they could do. Making a quick gesture with his arm, Nightwalker hurled them forward into the door. The last everyone heard of them was a long roar of fury, and then Raven was closing up the door. All right. Job done, Raven said calmly. Now, Mr. Kakashi, you were saying your Hokage wants us to travel to Konoha with you, yes? Shall we get going? Of course. Think you could use that dimension traveling jutsu to get us there? No problem. We just have to be far enough from here before I use that technique again. Why is that? Neji asked. Opening too many dimensional doors in a single area can eventually affect time and space. Wouldn't want that happening, would we? Raven was already starting to leave, and the others hurried after her. All right. Here's far enough. Raven eventually came to a halt, her mind still at work. Stand back while I open the door to Konoha. She raised her arms and began the chant again, in that incomprehensible language. The ninjas watched in awe as once again, the dimensional door was opened. Well, there you go. Raven stepped aside and looked at the ninjas. After you. All right. Naruto hollered. Back to Konoha we go. Come on. He happily hopped through the door, and the others followed one by one. Raven closed the portal once everyone was through, and then nothing was left to show that an interdimensional door had been opened there. From a safe distance, a shadowy, hulking figure watched everything in silence before pulling out a small round disc. S11 to N5. I've spotted the targets. They've headed back to Konoha. The Dream Chaser. Well, who knows when they'll find out Raven is the gem. Talk with Tsunade. Back in Konoha at last. Home sweet home, Naruto smiled. The Titans looked around curiously at the ninjas' village, noting with relief that the portal door had taken them to a quiet, isolated part of the village where there were few people. Naruto was beaming from ear to ear, looking round at his home as if he hadn't seen it for months. The other ninjas were noticeably relaxed now, just obviously pleased to be back home. Follow me, Kakashi told the Titans. I'll take you to Tsunade-sama now. Starfire and Beast Boy were seldom at a loss for words, and kept up a merry conversation throughout the walk to the Hokage's mansion. Even being in a completely new dimension wasn't enough to deter their cheery, chatty nature. Sakura and Naruto seemed to have taken a liking to them, and readily joined in the talk, laughing at Beast Boy's arsenal of jokes and riddles. Looks like BB finally found someone to laugh at his jokes, Terra grinned. Yeah, that is, until we've parted ways, Raven sighed. Then it's back to picking on us again. It isn't that bad, Terra smiled. Easy for you to say that, Raven muttered. You and Beast Boy spend so much time together that nothing he does can irritate or surprise you anymore. Other villagers swarmed around them now, looking at the Titans with open curiosity, obviously interested in their odd-looking clothes. Several young children even ran up to Starfire to tug her long red hair, giggling shyly. Starfire laughed with pleasure and knelt down to play with the children, speaking fluent Japanese to them. The children made another comment, and Starfire laughed again before getting up, excusing herself politely. "You speak very good Japanese," Hinata said. "Oh yes, I can absorb languages by physical contact," Starfire said. "That is how I learned English the first time I came to Earth." "First time you came to Earth?" Sai echoed. "I am an alien, from planet Tamarin," Starfire explained. "We do not speak English there at all." "From another planet?" "Really?" Sakura asked, interested. "Why did you come here, then?" "I arrived here by chance when fleeing my captors. I met my Titan friends in the city, and after defeating my captors together, I decided to stay with them." "Have you ever returned to Tamarin to see your family?" "A few times, yes." They went on in this way for some time, making friendly conversation until Kakashi announced at last that they had reached the Hokage's mansion. Raven tilted her head upwards to get a better look at it, reaching out with her mental senses to ensure it was safe. Caution naturally came to her whenever she was in another dimension. In seconds, she was able to determine it was entirely safe. Kakashi led them up the stairs to Tsunade's office and knocked on the door. Tsunade's voice beckoned them in immediately, as if she was expecting them at that very moment. "Tsunade-sama, we're back." Kakashi and the ninjas bowed politely. "And we've brought with us the girl with the gem." "Good work, all of you. Where is this girl?" "Here." Kakashi beckoned to Raven, and she stepped forwards, inclining her head politely. "What's your name?" "Raven." Tsunade studied her for several minutes before asking, "The gem is safe." "As long as I'm standing, it will remain safe, I assure you." "Do you have the gem with you right now? Can I take a look at it if you do have it?" "How am I supposed to answer?" Raven grumbled. "You could tell her the truth," Nightwalker suggested. "You know I can't. It's best if the truth about the gem remains a secret for the time being." "Well, you have to say something that'll satisfy her without lying." Tsunade cleared her throat impatiently, leaning forward slightly. "Raven-san. I'm afraid I can't do what you asked, my lady. Not in the way you wish." "Do you not trust us?" Tsunade inquired bluntly. "It's got nothing to do with trust. This is related to safety purposes and secrecy. No one must know anything about the gem yet for the moment." Tsunade was not used to being disobeyed so openly and frowned hard. Raven felt the Hokage's ire rising, and tried to find the right words to say. "My lady," Raven said politely, "I'm the one who knows most about this. Believe me when I say that it's best if the gem remains a mystery to everyone for now." "And what about the ninjas sent to your world to find you?" Tsunade asked. "They won't be bothering us anymore, Tsunade-sama," Sakura assured the Hokage. "Raven-san already took them down and sent them to another dimension." "Another dimension?" Tsunade's eyebrows nearly disappeared into her yellow hair. "Do you mean Raven-san here has powers like Madara Uchiha?" "She does," Kakashi replied. "Only they work a little differently from his." "Explain that." "Unlike Madara, Raven-san can open a portal independently without having to warp herself into the other dimension, like Madara." Tsunade nodded, quietly storing up all this information. "What else have you found out while you were in her world?" "A man named Slade is the informer, apparently, or so Raven-san says." "Who is this Slade?" "An enemy of Raven-san and her friends. A very powerful man not easy to find." Tsunade turned to Raven with a fiercely thoughtful expression. "Tell me more about this Slade." "He knows certain things about me that I prefer not to disclose," Raven replied. "And he knows where exactly the gem is, I'm afraid." "What?" Tsunade spluttered, jerking upright to her feet, slamming her hands down on the table. "How? You just told me the gem is safe." "He knows where it is, but he won't be able to get his hands on it." "Yet," Raven answered truthfully. "I told you, as long as I'm standing, the gem will remain safe." "How can you be so sure?" Naruto demanded. shocked by this revelation. With Slade being so powerful as you said, he could easily steal the gem anytime. What's to stop him, now that he knows where exactly is it? Raven gazed calmly into Naruto's agitated eyes, still calm as ever. I'm not going to repeat myself so many times, she replied patiently. Slade may know where it is, but it won't be easy to get his hands on it. The moment he's too close to the gem, I'll know it. Are you sure? Neji demanded. Perfectly sure, Raven answered, so calmly and confidently that the ninjas felt they had no choice but to believe her. So, the gem is well hidden enough, then? Tsunade asked. You could say that, yes. Give me a straight answer. Yes or no. You can't get a straight answer for a question like this. Lady Tsunade, kindly stop asking me so many questions about the gem. Believe me, the gem is safe. What now, then? Naruto asked. Raven-san, I'd like you and your friends to stay here in Konoha until this problem is over, Tsunade said. Every single ninjas here knows about this situation, and will happily agree to guard you. Hey. Naruto's lips curved into a smile. To be honest, I doubt Raven-san needs anyone to guard her. Nevertheless, Tsunade said, I'm taking no chances. The fate of the entire ninja world possibly lies in her hands. If the gem were to fall into our enemy's hands, we're all as good as dead. Raven shrugged. I've no problem with staying here, she answered, and turned to the Titans. But that doesn't mean you guys have to stay here with me. Jump City needs you. And so do you. Robin stepped forward and laid a hand on Raven's shoulder. We're not leaving you like this. Jump City already has the Titans East, and other brave superheroes. We're sticking with you. Until this has all ended. We all will, Nightwalker agreed. Thanks. Raven did not smile, but her somber expression lightened up slightly. All right. Now that things are somewhat settled, it's time we plan the next move, Robin said. Lady Tsunade, do you anywhere highly secure for Raven to live in? I've already prepared a place specially for her and you, Tsunade said. It's in a fairly well-hidden area, and will be guarded by several Jonin ninjas 24 hours a day. Kakashi will show you there afterwards. Then when can we go home? Starfire asked. When will all this be over? I've already instructed some ninjas to spy on the enemy and capture the ones responsible for all this trouble, Tsunade replied. Once they've brought back all those responsible, we'll decide if the situation is under control. If it is, you'll be free to go home. That's all. For today. You're free to wander around the village whenever you like, but Raven-san must be guarded at all times, is that clear? Yes, my lady. You may go. Kakashi, stay back for a while. There's something I need to discuss with you in private. With the exception of Kakashi, everyone else bowed and left together. Raven's expression was more somber than usual, and Nightwalker didn't fail to notice. What's up? This matter about the gem and the demon it'll release is far beyond what Lady Tsunade and the others are capable of understanding. I know they're trying their best to avert disaster, but in the end, they can only succeed in delaying his ascension, no more. You're not usually this pessimistic. I'm telling the truth. These matters are beyond our control, and you know that. Not even I can avert what will ultimately happen. Delaying it can give us more time to prepare for what's coming, but in the end. I know. He will ascend anyway, and bring the end of the world. Oughtn't you tell this to Lady Tsunade? It would save so much trouble if they realized that in the end, they can't truly stop him from coming. There's no use. They won't understand. The only thing they know is that they must stop the gem from falling into their enemy's hand. Even if I told them about the prophecy, they'd just try their best to stop it from happening anyway, without believing it's something that can't be prevented, no matter what we do. We go along with their plan for now. It's all we can do for the time being, and in the meantime, hope for the best. In the training field, oh man. Beast Boy took one look around their temporary home and groaned aloud, flinging his arms into the air. No way. They gave us a home like this to stay in? You've gotta be joking me. There's nothing here to keep us entertained. No TVs, no sofas, no Beast Boy. Raven glared at him ferociously, eyes glowing. Do you think we came here for a luxurious holiday? I was just commenting, whatever. Frankly, I think this house is quite nice, Starfire said, positive as usual. At least we can have peace and quiet and relax without hearing people shouting all the time. And most importantly, it's secure enough, Cyborg said. There are plenty of secret exits and hideouts, so if anything happens. And we're going to be guarded every second of the day, Robin added. So life here isn't going to be too bad, Terra concluded. Certainly not, Nightwalker agreed. But what are we to do in our free time? Beast Boy demanded. Find some bad guys to fight, Terra suggested helpfully. Better still, Robin said, we could do some training. Maybe Naruto and his team could teach us some ninja techniques. Well, if you do approach them, Beast Boy said, make sure you don't ask that Sasuke guy. He's about as cheerful as a thunderstorm. He certainly is scary, Starfire agreed. And he has plenty of dark vibes coming out from him, Raven said with a frown. I felt them the moment he appeared. So, what's up with him? Terra asked. Don't know yet. I don't go round reading everyone's minds, you know. Robin checked his watch and looked around before saying, anyone want to head to the training ground with me? I think we have plenty of time to train now. I'll come with you, Cyborg offered. Me too, Starfire said. And I think I'll join in, Beast Boy and Terra chorused in unison. We might as well all go, Nightwalker said. Does that mean I'll have to bring those ninja guards along? Raven asked, sounding far from pleased. Lady Tsunade said they're to travel with you at all times, Nightwalker reminded her. Great, Raven muttered. Perhaps I should stay behind here, then. Lonely, Beast Boy commented. If that's the case, I'll stay behind with you, Nightwalker offered. So you can meditate in silence with her? Cyborg asked slyly. Nightwalker rolled his eyes and ignored Cyborg. Forget it, Raven sighed. I'll go along too. I could use some fresh air. And so does your escort, perhaps, Beast Boy grinned cheekily. Raven called to the 4 ninjas who were supervising their home so diligently, and together, the Titans headed to the training ground. They were not alone when they got there. Naruto, Kakashi, Sai, Sasuke and Sakura were there with several other ninjas they had yet to be introduced to. Starfire greeted Sakura and Naruto with her usual enthusiasm, and Sakura waved back, beckoning to the Titans. Come to join us for some training? Naruto asked. Oh yes. Cyborg smiled. Robin here said he would like to learn some ninja techniques from you. Oh, we've got plenty we can teach you, Naruto beamed. Hey Naruto, are these the Titan guys you were telling us about? Oh Ino, yes, they are, Titans. Meet some of our other friends. This is Ino, Choji, Tenten and Shino. Hello. Starfire waved and showed off her white teeth in a huge, friendly grin. I am Starfire, and these are my friends. Robin, Raven, Nightwalker, Cyborg, Terra and Beast Boy. I am most pleased to meet you. Yo. Choji smiled back before reaching into his packet for another chip. Nice to meet you. And where are your other friends? Starfire asked. The ninjas who came to our world with you. They're coming soon, Sakura replied. Want to have some friendly matches with us? I'll accept, Beast Boy grinned. Just make sure you don't get your butt kicked, Cyborg murmured to him. Hey, just kidding. Soon enough, Neji and the others arrived, pumped up for a good match. Robin was noticeably itching to learn some ninja techniques, and quickly engaged Naruto in a conversation about it. Starfire headed over to Ino and Sakura, chatting away 19 to the dozen. Within minutes, Naruto was already demonstrating several techniques to Robin, who looked on with such intensity that he could have burned a hole through Naruto. Now, you try that, Naruto said. Good, yes, that's it, good. Anyone would think they've been friends for years, not a short while, Raven remarked. Better to be friends than enemies, was Nightwalker's reply. And since we're in their dimension, not the other way round, we need good allies here. So, you're going up against them for practice? Depends, Nightwalker answered. You still got those necklaces Karzor gave us? Yeah. Starfire had already began a match against Sakura, with Ino looking on. Robin and Naruto had began a close combat battle now, with Robin incorporating into his moves some of the techniques Naruto had just shown him. The other ninjas joined in, and soon, almost everyone was engaged in combat. Raven, Nightwalker, aren't you going to join in? Starfire called out after a while, noting Raven's and Nightwalker's similar poses. No, we need to meditate, Raven answered. You can always meditate at home, Cyborg pointed out. Whatever. Cyborg shrugged and decided to leave them alone, but Beast Boy was not about to ignore them. Winking at Cyborg and Robin, who stared at him with bemusement, Beast Boy crept closer and closer to the meditating pair in complete silence, a water bottle in hand. Unscrewing the cap, he edged just a little closer and drew back his arm, thrusting it forward and spraying the water over Raven and Nightwalker. There was no response on Raven or Nightwalker's part, but the path of the water suddenly changed drastically, turning around and splashing Beast Boy neatly. Starfire took one look at it and burst into a giggling fit, enjoying the look on Beast Boy's green face. I felt that coming, Beast Boy, Nightwalker said calmly, as if nothing had happened. I can sense it whenever there's water nearby, you know. Opening his eyes, he shifted his hand slightly, and the water detached from Beast Boy's drenched clothes, splashing him in the ace again. Hey, cut it out, Beast Boy protested. That's what you get for disturbing us, Raven said. Oh man. Beast Boy indignantly wiped the water away from his face, shaking the droplets away from his hand. Hey, that was a good one, Naruto laughed. Nightwalker-san, think you could do it again? Gladly. The gleam in Nightwalker's eyes said he was more than happy to oblige. Though his expression remained the same, Raven easily sensed his light mood, one of those emotions that came to him so rarely. Oh no no no. Beast Boy turned to run, but the ground beneath his feet shifted, so that he neatly tripped up. Before he could rise, there was a huge ball of water right above him, and Beast Boy yelled aloud in a most comical fashion as the water descended right onto him, drenching him in a cold shower. Now, maybe that'll teach you not to disturb Raven and I when we're meditating. That was too harsh a punishment, Beast Boy groaned. Promise not to try something like that on us again. Fine, I promise, Beast Boy grumbled, deflating. Good. Nightwalker moved his hand again, and the water-soaking Beast Boy's clothes left him, watering the ground beneath his feet. It's been a long time since I've seen you in this mood, Raven said. Just because I'm so serious doesn't mean I've got no light moods or a sense of humor. Starfire laughed and clapped her hands, delighted at the little show. Friend Nightwalker, that was brilliant, she chuckled. Will you do this to Beast Boy again one day? If I have to, Nightwalker replied, and he was almost smiling as he said this. Beast Boy pushed out his lower lip, sulking like a petulant child. Rest assured, I won't ever bother you again, he said grumpily. Good, Raven said, and earned another grumpy look from Beast Boy. Well, now that you're not meditating, why don't you and Nightwalker join us, then? Robin suggested. You're really that keen for us to do that? Nightwalker said, of course. Well, then, oh, come on. Please, Starfire implored, with her most pleading look. Fine. But only for a short while, Raven said. Good. Raven-san, who would you like to challenge? Kakashi asked. I'd be happy to fight her, Naruto volunteered at once. Sure about that? Cyborg asked, eyes raised. Oh yes, I'm sure. Here I go. Raven moved into position opposite Naruto, who was already in fighting stance. Naruto was clearly pumped up, eager to test his skills against this titan who seemed so formidable. Tajukage Bunshin no Jutsu. Raven remained calm as she found herself surrounded by countless Narutos, all of them completely identical. They all laughed at her in unison, daring her to guess which one the real one was. Raven took in the scene at a single glance, and the tiniest of smiles lifted her lips. Azareth Metreon Zinthos. She roared, releasing a powerful blast of energy that swept outwards like a tsunami wave. All the Naruto clones yelled aloud before they vanished in puffs of smoke one by one, until only a single Naruto was left, the only one whom Raven had not attacked. "I know the real you," Raven said coolly. "Your aura is different from your clones, so don't waste time trying that jutsu on me again. Now it's my turn. Azareth Metreon Zinthos." Kakashi whistled with awe as 5 very large boulders rose upwards, suspended in midair by Raven's telekinesis. One by one, she hurled them forwards, aiming for Naruto. Naruto uttered something that sounded like a loud oof, and hastily moved from side to side rapidly, dodging the deadly rocks. "Take this." Naruto grabbed a handful of kunais and shurikens from his pouch and flung them at Raven while running forward. Raven stopped them easily, not even moving her feet. Naruto, in the meantime, continued to barrel towards her at top speed, before performing another hand sign. "Taju Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. That again?" Raven muttered, eyes raised. "Don't underestimate me," Naruto warned, as numerous clones once again appeared. This time, they did not go straight for Raven, but leapt upwards and split up, while others remained concealed. With ferocious war-like cries, the clones charged straight for their target, fists clenched. Raven quickly evaluated the situation and sent out countless blasts of telekinetic energy, blasting away the clones. From behind, 2 of Naruto's clones rapidly began forming a massive Rasengan. Concentrating on eliminating the visible clones, Raven didn't appear to notice the activity going on behind her. Naruto's busy clones grinned, and with the Rasengan completed, they charged. Sensing the movement behind her, Raven whirled around sharply at the last minute, finally noticing the Rasengan. There was no time to move, and just in time, she managed to fling up a shield. "Gah!" Raven grunted with effort as she strove to maintain the shield, while the clones relentlessly thrust forward with the Rasengan, struggling to break the shield. In the heat of the moment, Raven seemed to forget it was only a friendly combat session, and unleashed more power than she would have. Thrusting the shield forward to repel Naruto's clones, she flew backwards and dispelled the shield, receiving a clear view of Naruto's clones. Eyes glowing, she raised her arms and sent forth a vicious mass of swirling energy, destroying the clones at last. With renewed vigor, she kept it up, until all the clones were gone, leaving behind only the real Naruto. Azareth Metreon Zinthos. "Ah!" Naruto gave a yell of shock as he found himself completely enclosed by Raven's dark energy. He was lifted high into the air, and then he felt himself being hurled towards a tree at a dangerously rapid speed. Whoa! Realizing that Raven was going too far, Nightwalker hastily leapt into action, blood weaving to halt Naruto's flight. Naruto jerked to a stop in midair, and Raven, just in time, remembered what this match was meant to be. Grimacing and berating herself mentally, she gently lowered Naruto to the ground. "Sorry. Guess I got a little carried away," Raven said. "It's okay." Naruto was breathless and slightly freaked out, but otherwise unscathed. "I guess you forgot this was just a friendly match, huh?" Raven pursed up her lips, her face tightening. "Whatever it is," she said, "forget about anyone else fighting me today." Getting a little tensed up, perhaps? Cyborg asked. "Think whatever you like." Naruto opened his mouth and was about to say something else when 2 extremely breathless and nervous-looking Jonin ninjas ran towards them, doubling over and struggling to catch their breath. The fear emanating from them was so strong that Raven's head jerked around at once. "What's wrong?" she demanded. "Raven Dono, you've got to move out of here at once." Genma Shiranui panted. "Right now." "Genma, what's up?" Kakashi asked. "They're here." "Who's here?" Robin asked, frowning. "It's Slade." "To all my reviewers, thank you so much, Slade's appearance." "What?" Robin spluttered incredulously. "Slade, are you certain?" "Yes." Genma cried. "He identified himself as Slade, and said he's here to deliver a message, and he's brought some company." Robin's eyes narrowed to slits. "So he's here at last," he said in a low, fierce voice. After all this time of hiding, now's the perfect chance to stop him. This ninja said he does have companions with him, Cyborg cautioned. So what? Robin snapped. Why should it make a difference? We're not alone ourselves. Unless Slade has actually brought along 100 minions along, I don't think this is a battle we'll lose easily. Now, let's move. Perhaps we should get Raven-san to a safe place first, Hinata said. I can't afford to hide like a coward in moments like this, Raven replied firmly. I'm going along with all of you. Not a good idea, Sakura protested. Slade is the informer, isn't he? He's probably come for you and the gem. You could be walking right into his trap. I can deal with bad guys, Sakura. I've seen more than my fair share all these years, and I think I can survive an encounter with another one. Then you'd better keep low, Kakashi warned her. I'll do what I must. Raida, you report this to Tsunade-sama, Kakashi said to Genma's companion. Genma, you come with us and lead us to Slade. Right. Follow me. Raven, Starfire and Nightwalker took off into the air, Nightwalker deliberately flying right in front of Raven. I could squash Slade like a bug if he says he's come for you. Nightwalker fumed. I admit, the temptation is almost too strong to resist. It's not like you to be so bloodthirsty. I wonder if you're not feeling the same way? Perhaps, but either way, I'm going to keep my emotions in check. You'd better do so too. We'll all do as we must. They're in that direction. Raising a hand, Genma pointed in a westerly direction. There are about 10 of them in total. Only 10. We can take them down, Robin said confidently. Let's hope it's going to be as simple as you think, Terra sighed. Simple or not, today's going to be the day we taken down Slade once and for all. On and on they moved, until Raven halted them with a single sharp word. The group halted in unison, the ninjas perching on tree branches. Raven was gazing into the distance intensely, her eyes glittering in her pale face. Raven-san. Slade's nearby. Too near. I can feel him. Prepare yourselves, Kakashi instructed, and the ninjas immediately grabbed weapons from their pouch, holding them ready in their hands. I'll go check it out first, Starfire offered bravely. No, stay together, Robin said in a low voice. Slade might already be aware of our presence. Let me scan the place first, Neji said. Byakugan. He peered intensely into the distance, and the others waited with bated breath. They're close, Neji reported. I can see 10 of them in total, and Slade. What does he look like? Metallic looking, huge body, mask on face. He's there all right, Neji said. Surrounded by those men. They all look like ninjas. How on earth did Slade even come to this dimension? Robin demanded. Figure that out later, Cyborg said. For now, we figure out how to stop Slade. We probably have the element of surprise, for now, Terra said. Slade may not know yet that we're here. Neji focused his gaze intensely on Slade before saying, they're still moving forward now. They're not acting like they know we're here. Then we ought to launch a sudden attack on them now, Naruto said. Sounds like a good plan to me. Cyborg agreed. All eyes turned to Kakashi, who considered it for a moment, then nodded. All right, he said. Remember to keep it simple. Surround Slade and the ninjas and take them down fast. Got it. Move. With surprising speed and agility, the ninjas sprang into action, leaping along the tree branches lightly. Raven, Nightwalker and Starfire flew forward together, side by side, while Beast Boy morphed into a crow. Terra tore up a large chunk of rock from the ground, and gestured to Robin and Cyborg to hop onto it while she controlled it, maneuvering it forward. Do you think we can take down Slade for good this time? Starfire asked hopefully. We have to, Robin said fiercely. It's not a matter of whether we can or not, we must. Leading the way, Neji stopped suddenly, holding up a hand. The entire group halted, looking at Neji, who quietly told them, we're close enough now. Spread out and hide. And wait for my signal, Kakashi said. When I whistle, make your move. Got it. Slade and his ninja companions continued to advance forward while the Titans and their ninja allies watched them quietly from a distance, concealed by the trees and bushes. Raven breathed in and out numerous times, keeping herself calm. No anger. No fear, she told herself sternly. No emotions whatsoever. Just stay calm and do what you have to. Kakashi was leaning further forward now, his revealed eye watching Slade's every move. With each step Slade and his minions took, they were getting closer and closer to where the Titans and ninjas were. Kakashi-sensei, Naruto whispered. I know. Kakashi peered down from his hiding point again, and came to a quick decision there and then. Pursing up his lips, he let out a sharp whistle, like a bird. In a flash, Titans and ninjas alike leapt out from their hiding places, descending upon Slade and his minions like birds swooping down for food on the ground. Following their common sense, they spread out in a circle, completely surrounding the enemy. Well, well, well. Look at who we have here, Slade drawled. The Teen Titans again, with some new friends. What a surprise. Really? Robin sneered, reaching for his stick. A surprise? Or a planned visit, I wonder. I'm not interested in fighting with you, dear Robin, Slade said, in his deep, dangerous voice. Just hand Raven over to me, and we'll be gone. Over my dead body. This no longer concerns you, Robin, Slade warned. This is between me and Raven now. So wrong. Tara snapped. This is between you and us. Back off, Slade replied. I'm not here for you. Raven. He looked her straight in the face, and made a sharp gesture with his hand. Come with me, and there'll be no trouble for your friends. Nightwalker stepped in front of Raven protectively, his eyes dangerously cold. You want Raven, do you? He asked. Well, come. And take her yourself if you dare, then. Oh, but I don't have to, Slade said lightly. She knows what she's destined to do, after all. I don't need force to take her. You're not taking her or the gem, Naruto spat angrily. Slade's head swiveled in Naruto's direction, as if he had just realized he was there. Her or the gem? He echoed mockingly. Oh dear. It looks like you really don't know much about the gem, do you? Perhaps not, Sakura voiced out, but we know what it's for. You poor little girl, Slade said. You think Raven told you so much about the gem that you know everything about it? Sadly for you all, she missed telling you something very important about it. Raven released her breath on a long, sustained hiss of anger. Slade, if you say anything more, Nightwalker threatened. What? Aren't you all Raven's friends? Don't you think they have the right to know what the gem really is? Or should I say, who the gem really is? Who the gem really is? Sai said, puzzled. Isn't the gem in? Kakashi felt an odd chill running down his spine. Raven-san. Is he telling the truth? Neji asked. Raven said nothing, but kept her gaze stubbornly fixed on the distance, her lips pinched into a straight, thin line. Of course I'm telling the truth, Slade said, spreading his hands in an almost innocent gesture. Surely you didn't think I'd travel all the way to another dimension to tell a lie? Have none of you found out yet that Raven herself is the gem? The truth about Raven. What? Raven-san is the gem? Kiba spluttered, with such force that a fountain of spit sprayed from his mouth. No, no way. That's impossible. Is it? Slade challenged coldly. No way, Sakura breathed, her mind thinking back to everything Raven had said to Tsunade. Now her words made sense indeed. Raven-san herself is the gem. Now I understand her conversation with Tsunade-sama. That would make sense indeed, Kakashi agreed gravely. But I still can't, Raven-san. Is this true? You are the gem? Her silence should provide the answer you're looking for, isn't it? Slade said. It can't be. More than just a few people were having severe difficulty in absorbing this shocking news. Jaws were hanging loose, and eyes were bulging wide. Nightwalker alone looked unsurprised, his face pale and his fists clenched at his side. Oh, but it can be, Slade said. And, on top of that, do you know what relationship Raven has with that demon? Slade. Nightwalker's teeth were bared into a snarl, like a feral animal, his eyes gleaming like ice, one blue, one black. The look on his face would have been enough to terrify anyone into silence. Anyone but Slade. If you dare, Nightwalker. Without even looking at him, Raven raised a hand and laid it on his elbow, restraining him. It's all right. They'll have to know anyway, eventually. But, trust me, still don't know much, do you? Slade remarked. Well, looks like Raven really does trust you, isn't it? What you say is insignificant to us, Robin snapped. Really? Insignificant? Slade's eyes were gleaming with amusement now. I wonder if you'll still hold the same opinion when I tell you that your sweet friend Raven is the daughter of the demon the gem will release. The previous silence of shock was nothing whatsoever compared to the stunned silence that now deafened everyone. Starfire gasped aloud, her hands flying to her open mouth. But apart from that, no one else was capable of making any sounds. No, Terra was the first to break the silence after that, her voice a hushed whisper. No, it cannot be. Raven's our friend, she. So much for my words being insignificant, Slade said mockingly. You're lying. Robin exploded. That can't be true. Raven's on our side, she would never. That only shows how little you know about her, Slade sighed. Liar. Cyborg bellowed in a fury. How dare you? Take this. Cyborg. Raven immediately flung up a shield in front of him, halting his progress sharply. Raven. What are you doing? Are you just going to stand there while this beast blabbers lie after lie about you? What lies? Raven asked, her tone dull and flat. You can't be saying Slade's actually, I mean, you can't be the gem. You can't be the one to release that demon into our world, and that demon can't be your father, Raven sighed, shutting her eyes wearily. Much as I hate to say it, she said tonelessly, Slade, for once, is telling the truth. I am indeed the gem. The portal Trigon seeks. And Trigon is my father. She had stunned everyone into silence with those words, ever so effectively. Suddenly, it was as if she was standing right in the middle of a huge vacuum, with a very large audience observing her from the periphery. Raven had not thought she could feel anything, but with the stares she was now getting, she felt a strangely distant pain constricting her heart, squeezing away her years of training at emotion control. Raven, please say you're lying, Robin whispered. Please. This is just too much too. Every word I and Slade have said is true, Robin. To say they were lies would be to tell a huge lie. Cyborg turned hopeless-looking eyes upon Nightwalker. You're the one who knows her best, Nightwalker, Cyborg said, almost sounding desperate. Everything they've said, is it true? Nightwalker shut his eyes, his head bowed. Yes, was his monosyllabic answer. He hesitated before continuing. I've always known this, even before I met Raven. I was brought up with a strong knowledge of the uncanny from a young age, and so I discovered the truth some time ago. Raven could no longer bear it by then. The shock, the suddenness of everything came crashing down on her with full force, like a tsunami at its peak, and her mind let out a wordless cry. For the first time in so many years, she felt emotions surfacing dangerously. The trees and bushes and rocks around them literally exploded from her dark energy, and the titans and ninjas gasped aloud. Control, control. With a ferocious burst of self-control, Raven poured all her years of intense training into practice, and blocked off everything she felt. The anguish, the rage, the helplessness. The dangerous dark energy inside her dwindled, and Raven felt all her calm and control returning at last. See that? Slade said. See what a danger she is to you? After all the secrets she's kept from you, you still wish to call her a friend? Raven. Robin turned to her, his face twisted with a nameless expression. Why didn't you ever tell us all of this? Why wait for our enemy to reveal your secrets like this? You think this is something I'm proud of? No, but... Enough. Nightwalker's quiet voice conveyed a command much stronger than any shout could have. Enough of this. Our focus now should be Slade, not interrogating Raven. Oh no, I am not your main focus, Slade said softly. It is Raven who's right in the center of attention right now, as it should be. Now come with me, child. And this is not a request. Nightwalker lunged forward with amazing speed, punching Slade with such force that he went flying backwards, striking a tree sharply. Slade's ninja companions murmured with outrage, and immediately struck back, whipping out kunais and shurikens, while others began to focus on their ninjutsus. Azareth Metreon Zinthos. Nightwalker's rose in a crescendo as he summoned an almighty gust of wind, directing it with sufficient control to ensure that only the rogue ninjas were lifted up from the ground and suspended in midair, unable to get down. Ignoring their yells of outrage, Nightwalker directed the gust of wind upwards until they were above the treetops, and then he calmly hurled them away until they were all out of sight. Do you wish to be next, Slade? Nightwalker asked, in a soft, terrible voice. What makes you think I'll go down so easily? Slade asked coolly. You can blow me 100 miles away, and it won't matter. In the end, I'll still be back for Raven. No matter where she goes, she cannot run. And she knows that. But that doesn't mean I'm going to simply submit to my fate, Raven said softly. If I have to undergo what comes, I will not go down without a fight. And I'm sure you already know that, Slade. You're all wasting my time, Slade said. Raven, you will come with me now, or I will. Or you'll what? Beast Boy demanded. Do not interfere, Slade warned coldly, or there will be consequences. So stay out, Raven. No, Nightwalker stepped in front of Raven protectively, one arm stretched to its full length sideways. You're not taking her, Slade. Who do you think you are? Slade sneered. Raven's guardian, her lover. I'm her friend, Nightwalker replied quietly, and I'm not letting you take her away like this. And neither are we. Slade's eyes flickered to a point behind Nightwalker and Raven as the Titans and ninjas congregated behind them, forming a united team. You heard us, Slade, Cyborg said firmly. We're not letting you take Raven. If you want her, then why don't you try getting past us first? You know the truth about Raven, and you still wish to support her? She's our friend, Robin answered simply. And friends always support each other. You thought you could turn us against Raven just by revealing her identity? But then, you've never understood the meaning of friendship, and never will. Raven looked back at her Titan friends, and her heart lifted. You'll really? Of course. Starfire cried, giving Raven a quick hug. We're friends, are we not? Do not friends always stick together, no matter what happens? Sure do. Beast Boy smiled. HMPH. Slade almost sounded amused. How sentimental, but that doesn't matter to me. I'm taking Raven now, and nothing can stop me. Oh yeah? Beast Boy sneered. You and what army? I was hoping you'd ask. Slade snapped a finger efficiently, and the Titans' eyes widened as they saw the ground around Slade rumbling, as if an earthquake was about to take place. The earth rose up and took shape, and gasps of shock arose from the ninjas as they set eyes on the huge rock-like monsters in front of them. There were more of them than anyone could count, and all of them were gleaming with fire and lava. Gah! Beast Boy squealed comically, his eyes bulging in his head, and Cyborg glared at him. You had to ask, didn't you? To all my reviewers, thank you so much. Happy New Year to you all. Smiley face. Hard Choice Robin and his companions glared round at the countless monsters surrounding them, eyes narrowed. Their numbers were so great that it was impossible to even see past them. It was as if Slade's minions had covered every inch of ground around them. You've got to be kidding me, Cyborg groaned, smacking his forehead. Wish that was the case, Robin muttered. And how are we supposed to kick the butt now? Starfire asked anxiously. We do it the old-fashioned way, Robin said. Take them down with all your might. Show them no mercy. And keep an eye on Raven. Don't worry about me, Raven said. I can take care of myself. You focus on the fit. You're the one they want in the end, Terra reminded her. If we focus all our attention on these beasts, one of them could easily run off with you, and we wouldn't even know. Our priority is to get you out of here safely. Do as I say, Raven commanded sharply. Don't concentrate on me. I'm capable of keeping myself safe. Not an option, Kakashi said. You said you're the gem, right? If that's the case, you're the most important one here. You get away from here, and we'll hold them off. What, you expect me to run while you all risk your lives? Raven retorted. Not an option either. I'm staying to fight, and that's final. You're going to put the entire ninja world at risk if we fail, Naruto snapped. No one's going to think of you as a coward if you flee, too much depends on you. Guys, Beast Boy said, can we quit the conversation and start the fighting? He pointed in the direction of their enemies. They're starting to come after us, Titans, go! Robin bellowed. Every single person there fought back with every ounce of strength and power in them, like madmen. Starfire rose high in the air and released so many starbolts that her comrades were nearly blinded by the non-stop flashing green light. Nightwalker joined her in the air, dispatching powerful blasts of lightning all over the place, targeting as many enemies as he could. Raven released all the energy she could, crumbling the monsters into rocks, while Robin hurled disc after disc at them. Cyborg was blasting away with his sonic cannon, and Terra and Beast Boy fought side by side with their powers. Near them, the ninjas put all their ninjutsu, genjutsu and taijutsu skills into use, fighting until their skin was damp with sweat. Are we even getting anywhere? Beast Boy demanded angrily after some time, looking round at their enemies. I mean, why does it look like the same number of bad guys is still there? Maybe they can replicate themselves? Naruto yelled back, Raven-san. I've never encountered these beasts before, she replied. No point asking me anything about them. Please say someone has a plan at least, Beast Boy groaned, before they kick our butts completely. They're not going to, Robin snarled fiercely. We're not going to let them. Hate to burst your bubble, Cyborg said, but in case you haven't noticed, we're not exactly gaining the upper hand here. Grunting, Robin took down 2 more opponents with his exploding discs and wiped sweat away from his forehead. We'll find a way, he panted. We can't let them take Raven, at any cost. Fighting furiously with her starbolts, Starfire glanced down at the ninjas and called out, cannot you ninjas do something to kick their butts? Do not you all have some sort of might power? We are using them, if you haven't noticed, Naruto retorted breathlessly. I thought you ninjas. Starfire paused to focus more attention into blasting away another monster. I thought, She gave a yell of outrage and shock as a blast of fire directed itself upwards and hit her with deadly accuracy. She felt a terrible burning pain all over her skin, and then she felt the wind rushing past her as she plummeted downwards. Starfire! Robin cried aloud with shock and began to rush forward frantically, furiously taking down numerous rock monsters along the way. With a quick, neat movement, he somehow managed to make a deft somersault forward to avoid being hit by another blast of fire, catching Starfire in his arms just in the nick of time. Star, you okay? Terra yelled, from where she was. Starfire could only moan in reply as she passed a hand over her face. From further away, there was another yell of agony as Hinata and Ino also got struck, falling. Robin swore under his breath as he surveyed the situation, feeling a terrible sense of hopelessness that he so seldom felt. It seemed that each time one enemy went down, there were another 2 to take its place. What could anyone do against such opponents? You know, Slade drawled, raising his voice to ensure he could be heard above the din. You poor fools really don't have to do this the hard way. All you have to do is surrender Raven to me, and it'll be over. No one gets hurt. Naruto snorted with contempt. You can only wish for that, Slade. No more. I will not run from this. This is my way of the ninja. Slade clucked mockingly and folded his arms, shaking his head. Your way of the ninja, he sighed. Oh, you poor fool. You really don't understand anything, do you? Nightwalker cleared his sides with a blast of lightning from each hand and whirled round to glare at Slade, positioned on a tree branch overlooking the chaotic scene. You think this is enough to stop us? He yelled. You think we're going to give Raven up to you easily? Slade smiled lazily behind his mask, unfazed. "Why don't we wait and see?" he returned calmly. On and on they fought, until it seemed a miracle that the titans and ninjas were still on their feet. Hinata, Ino, Choji and Sakura were already unconscious, sprawled all over in a most undignified manner, and Starfire was on the verge of fainting as well. Naruto's body was bathed in sweat, with salty drops raining from him. Eyes narrowed, he looked round, trying to form a plan in his head, which seemed as heavy as 2 rocks. "Raven, what are we to do?" Nightwalker demanded. "We've been fighting for an hour, and the same number of these creatures are still standing. You have any idea what to do?" "I'm trying to think. Could you think faster? I could say the same to you." Nightwalker grunted with the effort of trying to keep up, and swayed unsteadily as he found himself charged at for the umpteenth time. "Robin would have a lot to say if we lose this fight. We're not going to lose." "Well, good to see you still have some fighting spirit left. You ought to know by now that I'm not capable of giving up." Nightwalker almost smiled to himself as he engaged in a ferocious hand-to-hand combat with 2 opponents at the same time. It was a most peculiar conversation to be having during the heat of battle, but at least it took his mind off the stress, no matter how briefly. "I never said that," he replied. "I was just commenting that it's good you still have the same determination now." Another shriek sounded, and as Nightwalker turned to look, he saw Terra falling from a levitating rock, clutching her side. She hit the ground with a sickening thud, and Nightwalker grimaced. He could imagine the pain she must have felt. A huge rock came flying in his direction with deadly speed as Nightwalker used a water wave to douse out 2 enemies. Sensing the movement, he tried to defend himself, but exhaustion slowed his reflexes considerably, and he failed to react in time. He managed to lunge to one side, but the rock did have a pretty large radius, and managed to hit his left temple with sufficient force to bring him to his knees. Nightwalker, don't worry about me. It'll take more than a bump on the head to stop me." A fire rope uncoiled and headed straight for Nightwalker, who was still too stunned and dazed to move. In one swift motion, it struck him in the chest, sending out a sizzling blast that promptly paralyzed him, leaving him more than half unconscious. The fire rope continued to move in the meantime, wrapping itself around Nightwalker and immobilizing him fully. Oh no! Watching her friend, Raven realized they were all in big trouble. She had seen that fire rope before, and knew what it was capable of. There were others making their move now, going straight for the other titans and ninjas. Raven grimaced, tempted to clap her hands over her ears as shouts and roars of outrage threatened to burst her eardrums. There was no one to match the sudden new attack, and in half a minute, Raven's brave comrades were all prisoners, immobilized and suspended in midair, legs kicking out furiously as they tried in vain to break free. Tisk, tisk, tisk. Slade nimbly leapt down from the tree branch and dusted off his hands, eyeing his captives. What a sad ending, he sneered. He began to stride towards Raven, and Raven glared at him in a fury, backing away slowly. "You can't hide forever," Slade said softly. "All your comrades are down. You're alone now. Why don't you simply come with me and end all this trouble?" "You can't make me, really?" Turning sideways, Slade gave a single nod. "Ah!" Screams filled the air as powerful blasts of fire and lightning ran through the fire ropes, zapping Raven's friends with considerable force. Raven actually flinched, watching with gaping eyes as her friends writhed about in sheer agony, before going completely limp. No longer able to take it, she whirled round to face Slade. "Stop," she bellowed. "Stop hurting them, I'll go with you." HMPH. What was that? Slade leaned forward, cupping a hand around his ear in an exaggerated movement. "I don't think I heard you correctly. You want to repeat it?" "I said I'll go with you. If you let them go." Now we're talking." Slade snapped his fingers loudly and made a gesture with his hand. The beasts holding Raven's friends captive immediately stopped the torture, leaving the titans and ninjas flopping about limply, groaning with pain. Raven breathed out, feeling relieved for the briefest of moments before remembering that she was not to have a happy fate this time. Come. Slade addressed Raven as if she were a dog, gesturing to her impatiently. Come along peacefully, and your friends will be left alone. No. Raven, Robin groaned as he moved feebly, his head lolling sideways. Don't go. I'm sorry, Robin. This time, there is no other way. Goodbye. Friends. Raven cast a final glance towards her comrades who had been with her through so much, and then turned away, following Slade and his minions. So sorry for making you wait for so long. I got pretty occupied with other things, so I did kinda neglect this story. Anyways, just to let you know, this story is already coming to an end. There'll be 2 to 3 more chapters, and then we can say adieu to this tale. Determination. Robin found himself distantly wondering if someone had just smashed a rock into his body. It was throbbing over and over again in waves, the pain dulling him to the point that he could barely recollect his scattered wits. His limbs felt like lumps of metal connected to his body, not at all under his control. He could hear groans around him, and sensed some movement, but he couldn't quite seem to get the command to move to his legs and arms. Robin? Robin? Can you hear me? Fire. Robin somehow managed to turn over slightly, and saw Starfire kneeling next to him, her skin covered with hideous purple and red bruises. Her eyes were mildly glazed and unfocused. What? The bad guys have our friend, Starfire said frantically. Slade took Raven with him. No, can't. Robin strained to move his muscles, but they wouldn't obey him. Got to stop them, save Raven. None of us can really do anything for now. This came from Cyborg, who was sitting hunched near Robin, an arm across his chest. I don't know what those monsters did to us, but they've pretty much immobilized us. We can't just sit here and do nothing. Naruto protested loudly, outraged. If the demon is released. Yes, we know about that, Beast Boy interrupted. But in case you haven't noticed, we're not exactly in the best condition. Naruto cursed in Japanese, his eyes blazing like blue fire. Despite the obvious pain it caused him, he somehow managed to rise to his feet, his legs noticeably wobbling. It doesn't matter, he said, loud and clear. This is the worst possible time to give up. We can't just let Raven-san surrender to her fate. I say we get up and go after them. Dude, Beast Boy retorted, we don't even know where Slade's taken Raven. She could be absolutely anywhere. I can try using my Byakugan, Hinata suggested timidly. I think I still have enough chakra to use my Kekkei Genkai. And so can I, Neji voiced up, sounding rather breathless. Hinata-sama. He nodded at his cousin, and the duo poured forth all their effort into activating their dojutsu. After some time, Neji shook his head and shut his eyes. It's not working, he said. I can't see any of them at all. They must be too far out of range for us to detect. With Starfire's help, Robin slowly sat up, rubbing his aching temples. Cyborg, use your communicator, he instructed. Perhaps